I think that authors need to change their mindset. So when it comes to even publishing your book, and you're right, there's these things you need to do. When I wrote my book, I hired a book coach to help me because I never wrote a book before. So, and I spent a lot of money hiring this book coach, and I spent money for the editor, the formatter, the book cover designer, all that stuff. But you know what? I wouldn't have done it any other way because if you need help, get it. Because the end product is only going to be that much better and a much higher quality.
Hi friends, this is Read and Write with Natasha podcast. My name is Natasha Tynes and I'm an author and a journalist. In this channel, I talk about the writing life, review books, and interview authors. Hope you enjoy the journey. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. I have today with me a special guest. His name is Robert Lane, and in addition to being a best-selling author, he's also an audiobook coach and transformational speaker with over 30 years of experience in the entertainment industry, including 14 years at 20th Century Fox. He's the founder of Robert Lane Coaching and the creator of Your Book, Your Voice, a signature program that helps nonfiction authors narrate and produce their own audiobooks. He's also an award-winning filmmaker and a passionate advocate for helping authors find their voice, literally and figuratively. Robert, so excited to talk to you about audiobooks. So thank you for joining me today. So first is, what is an audiobook coach? What do you do exactly?
Oh, well, perfect question. Glad to be here, by the way, Natasha. Thank you for having me on your podcast. So an audiobook coach and producer, basically what I do it's twofold. So the first thing is the coaching side. So what I do is I help authors narrate their own audiobook, and that involves, it's more than just hitting the record button and then starting, narrating, reading your book. There's a lot of preparation that you need, like mindset. You got to be in the right frame of mind before you even hit that record button. And there's other aspects from the coaching side that I help authors with. And a lot of it is about confidence, about believing in your voice, loving your voice. I mean, how many times have you heard people say, "Oh, I hate my voice. I don't like how I sound."
Yeah.
But the truth is, you do have a great voice, and you need to love and appreciate this wonderful sound that comes out of your body, because that's part of your brand, your author brand. It's all part of who you are. And that's why I'm a big advocate for especially nonfiction authors narrating their own audiobook, because it's their story and they should tell it in their own voice. So as a coach, I teach them how to do a great narration, how to be conversational, how to be compelling and engaging, how to have that listener sitting on the edge of their seat from opening credits to closing credits, because you're telling such a great story. And then the production side of it, which is another thing that I provide, where the audio coach hat comes off and the producer hat comes on. And as you're recording your audiobook, because it's done in sections, the authors send the audio files to me, and I do all the cleanup and editing, make sure it sounds great. But most importantly, that it meets the exact specifications for publication. Because I've seen authors where they do all this work, they spend all these hours recording their audiobook, and then they upload it for publication in, let's say Audible, Amazon, Apple Books, and it gets rejected because it didn't meet the correct specifications. So I make sure that the audiobook is exactly what it needs to be, and then I do the uploading for them so that I know that if there's any issues, I'll know what it is, I know how to fix it, and they don't have to worry about that their audiobook won't be published.
Interesting. So, okay, I have a number of questions, actually very many questions. So the first one, why would authors go to you rather than hire a company that will do the whole thing for them? What is the advantage?
Well, the advantage is, first of all, it's the coaching aspect.
Okay.
I think a lot of authors may think that, again, that they don't have what it takes to do a narration, which I know they do,
Mm.
but they'll say, oh, I'll just get a narrator to do it and just have another company do it. The problem with that, and there's a lot of great narrators and they will sound great technically, but it's still their interpretation, not yours. There are subtleties, there are nuances. They didn't experience the story that you wrote as an author. Especially if you wrote a memoir or you're sharing a personal story, or if you're a coach or an entrepreneur or an educator or a teacher and you have a coaching program, it wouldn't make sense for another narrator to talk about your coaching program. It's your program. No one can express it the way you can.
Mm.
Another narrator, they didn't live the experience that you lived. So there's going to be aspects of your story that they're not going to really be able to relate to. Now, from a technical standpoint, they'll do a great narration, but they're missing that emotional side that only the author can express.
Interesting. So do you work mainly with independent authors, self-published authors who record from their own homes, from their own home offices? Like who's your main target audience?
Nonfiction authors are usually the authors I work with. I will work with fiction authors as well, but it depends on how the story is written. So, for example, if you have a fiction story, but it's written more as a narrative, then the author could definitely narrate that. But if you have a story that involves lots of characters and different dialects and all sorts of things like that, then I would suggest having them hire a professional voiceover person who can do voices, who can create these characters and make them, bring them to life. So it depends, but mainly nonfiction, because again, these are stories that are personal for these authors. So it again makes sense for them to be the ones to narrate their own audiobook.
And they're independent authors usually, or they're self-published authors, or who are your clients?
Yeah, I would say 99% of them are self-published authors. The issue that I've run into with some authors who have been published by traditional publishers is that they don't have control over their product. So I've had authors say, yeah, you know what? I want to narrate my own audiobook, but I have to get permission from my publishing company to see if they'll let me do it. And a lot of times the publishing company says, no, we want to have someone else narrate your audiobook. And I think they're doing the author a disservice by not letting them tell their story in their own voice. So that is something that can be a roadblock for an author who is published by a traditional publisher. Hopefully not. Hopefully they'll let them do it, because I think they need to narrate their own book. But so mainly it is self-published authors that I work with.
So where do they record? Like, let's say I'm sitting here in my home office. Can I record from here? Like, do you guide them through the technical aspects? Where do they record?
Absolutely. That is a great question. In the program that I teach, I send them the equipment that they need, professional microphone, professional headphones, and I teach them how to set up their own recording space. Whether it is in your home office, it could be in a bedroom. I've had some authors set up the recording space in their walk-in closet because it absorbs sound. It's great.
Yeah.
But the point is setting up in a space that is comfortable, that you feel relaxed in, that is quiet. You don't want to set up in a room that's real echo-y, or that sounds like you're in a giant cathedral or a big bathroom, because that won't sound so good. So, like where you're sitting, Natasha, that's perfect. You can set up your recording space exactly where you are. It'll sound fine. And yeah, I do go over the technical aspects. I'm very methodical. So I go step by step. And in the program, I work with authors one-on-one. We meet every week. But there's also video lessons and downloadable reference materials. All of that is part of the program. So the author has everything they need to be able to set up their own recording space. And of course, I'm there to guide them every step of the way.
So when you say you send them the equipment, do they rent them or do they buy them?
Once you enroll into the Your Voice Audiobook coaching program, I provide the equipment for you, and it's theirs for the author to keep. They don't have to send it back to me. It's part of the program.
I see. Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to pretend I'm a client and I am coming to you because you talked about my mindset.
Yes.
And my issue with recording is I have an accent and I'm very self-conscious about it. And I feel it might turn off listeners because some people, they don't like to hear accented voices. And do you agree with that? How do I overcome that kind of limiting belief?
Right. And that is a limiting belief. It really is.
Okay.
And I believe that it's I call it a false belief only because you have an accent. That accent is part of who you are. That's part of you as an author, as a brand, as a person. You really have to love and embrace your accent. That's part, as I say, part of who you are. And that also falls into confidence as well. Having confidence and believing in not only in the sound of your voice, but the accent as well. I don't think people are going to have a hard time understanding you with an accent. I mean, for example, I've had authors from the UK. I've had authors from different parts of the United States where there's various accents depending on where you've grown up. But that's part of who you are. So it's really important to embrace that as part of your author brand. And we do talk about, I mean, as a coach and a voiceover person, which I've done, we do talk about ways of maybe if there is something that makes it hard to understand, there's techniques that you can do to make yourself more understandable if there is an issue. But overall, I think your accent is a unique part of who you are. And it allows you to stand out in the crowd. This is who I am. This is how I sound. This is how I tell my story. Because honestly, people are really more interested in what you have to say. It's about content. If the delivery, I mean, if your voice was so annoying to listen to, then that could be an issue. But I have yet to have an author where I would say and suggest to them, you should really have someone else narrate your audiobook. I haven't had that experience yet. Every author that's come to me has been able to narrate their own audiobook. And they do a great job, but they're not professional speakers. So I think the accent is part of who you are. And I would say embrace it.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay. So I want to talk a bit about AI. And there's a lot of AI tools that help people record their audiobooks. I listened to a podcast called The Creative Pen, if you heard of her, Joanna Penn, I think, is that her name? And she talks a lot about AI, and she records her own books, fiction and nonfiction. And she was mentioning a number of programs that you can do that for free. I think like Google now allows you to record your audiobooks and all of that. So where are we now in terms of integrating these tools, AI, the free tools? Because as we know, audiobooks are booming, and I'm a huge reader, but I find myself listening to audiobooks because I don't have time, right? And so the market is expanding and expanding, and I think more tools are going to come. So where do you stand is there like a hybrid between your human voice, your AI, your like free tools? Like I think Spotify is also doing something. So where are we now?
When it comes to AI, I have a very defined policy, and that is if you're using AI to do your audiobook, you're cutting corners.
Okay.
AI is a misrepresentation of who you are as an author. It's not you. Even if you do voice cloning or whatever, there's a lot of these tools that are out there. It's not you. And people are going to know, people are going to hear there's subtle things that AI does that the human voice doesn't. The problem with AI is that it's soulless. Where is your author's soul? How is AI representing who you are? And are you going to have AI narrate your audiobook and then you're going to claim that you're the one who did the narration? It's a misrepresentation of who you are. AI cannot represent the emotion and the energy and those subtleties of the human being, the human energy, the human emotion. It's not there. It just isn't. You can maybe technically get it to sound like you, but it's not you. and you're not representing yourself well. I believe it as cutting corners. You put your blood, sweat, and tears and effort and money and everything into creating and writing your book. Why would you cut corners on your AI, using AI for your audiobook? That's part of your product. You're an author brand, and your products are your ebook, your paperback, your hardcover, and your audiobook. Why would you cut corners on a product that you offer? You shouldn't do it. That's just how I feel.
I'll tell you why. I'm going to play the devil's advocate. And I warned you, I'm a journalist. So, the reason is especially for indie authors, and I interview a lot of indie authors here, and I'm an indie author myself on the podcast, is the cost.
Yeah.
And as an indie author, and you already foot the bill of the editor, like the developmental editor, the line editor, the book cover, the bookseller. And then you're hoping that you probably won't break even, but adding an extra cost of audiobook, which I actually investigated. I talked to a company and they gave me like a rate of $5,000. I cannot afford that. I mean, like, how much is the book is going to make me plus all the costs? I'm going to be in the hole forever. And to what degree are we willing to do that? And sometimes we'll just have to take the AI because that's like kind of the only option available for now, at least until we become the next Stephen King or whatever.
Okay, well, I think that authors need to change their mindset.
Okay.
All right. So when it comes to even publishing your book, and you're right, there's these things you need to do. When I wrote my book, I hired a book coach to help me because I never wrote a book before. So, and I spent a lot of money hiring this book coach, and I spent money for the editor, the formatter, the book cover designer, all that stuff. But you know what? I wouldn't have done it any other way, because if you need help, get it, because the end product is only going to be that much better and a much higher quality. Same thing with an audiobook. The thing is, and this is where the mindset for authors need to shift, and that is, if you're publishing your book and you're thinking to be the next New York Times bestseller, that could be a goal of yours. But, let's be realistic. A lot of us aren't going to be, bestsellers. So you have to think outside of the box. Same thing with an audiobook. Think outside of the box. It's not just book sales and audiobook sales that are going to make you revenue. That book you have and that audiobook you have is a great calling card to get out there. Take your story, get booked on speaking engagements, talk to people, go out and do book signings. When you sell your book at a book signing, you're selling it for your full price, not getting paid for what Amazon is going to pay you for when you sell a book. So you're going to make a lot more money that way. So there are other things and other alternatives that you can be as an author to promote yourself and get yourself out there and make money. I have an author who went through my audiobook coaching program. She did her audiobook. She does speaking engagements. Her book is about her cancer journey. So she talks to hospitals, she talks to doctors, she talks to cancer treatment centers, and she uses her audiobook as part of her calling card. Here, this is what I do. This is what I sound like. I'd love to speak at your event. And she gets hired. And they pay her. They pay her decent money to go out and speak. So the investment that you make initially, you'll get your money back. You just need to think outside the box.
Okay. All right. I'm going to switch gears a bit and talk about the audio book industry. Where are we now? And what is the projection for the audiobook industry? How do you see the future? If you have a crystal ball, what's going to happen with it, and where are we now?
Yeah, the audiobook industry has been growing and expanding over the last several years, and it keeps growing, as you know. It's been growing about an average about 26.4% annually every single year. The projection, this was a projection by Business Wire. They said that by 2030, the worldwide, globally, the audiobook industry's revenue should be hitting around $35 billion. I mean, it's just growing and growing and expanding. And there's another interesting stat that happened back in 2019. Revenue for audiobooks surpassed revenue for ebooks.
Oh, really?
And that gap continues to widen. Not that they don't sell. Of course they do. Ebooks, paperbacks, hardcovers, all those formats, of course they sell. But the audiobook world has been growing and expanding. And you brought up a perfect example earlier about having time to be able to sit down and read a book. When you're running around doing a million things, you can still listen to a great book via audiobook and do the other tasks that you need to do. So that's another reason why it's growing and expanding. And a lot of people go for audiobooks first before they go to the other formats.
Yeah.
But the great thing about that is if someone buys your audiobook, and I even do this, I'll also buy the paperback, especially because I like to follow along. And if there's something I really love that the author's talking about, I'm going to highlight that in my book. And that's another great thing. So there is another aspect of making a little bit more money as an author, because if someone loves what you do as an author, they're gonna follow you. They're gonna buy your products.
Interesting. What about the audiobook wars? So it's like the main kind of, let's say the giant first with audiobooks was Audible, and then now Spotify is offering the free books. And not sure I'm gonna say that on on air, but I canceled my Audible subscription because I subscribe to Spotify. And Spotify has I think a number of books for free that you can get with your Spotify subscription. So who's winning the war?
Yeah. Well, as an author, coming from the author's perspective, I highly recommend that authors be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And the reason being is that most of the general public, they know what Audible is. And they usually go there first. And they even ask not, oh, do you have an audiobook? They ask by brand name. Oh, are you on Audible? Can I get your book on Amazon? Most people go there. The general public go to those. I call it the AAA, Audible, Amazon, Apple, the 3 AAAs. Most people go there. Now, the other distribution platforms they're good too. It all depends on the author, really. What is your marketing strategy? And this is something that I talk about in my program, is about PR, marketing, promoting your book, promoting yourself as an author. If let's say you published your book and you have it on, you published it on Barnes & Noble, or you published it in other distribution platforms other than Audible or Amazon, let's say, and it works for you, then that's great. When you do your audiobook, go for the other distribution platforms in addition to Audible, Amazon, and Apple, if that works for you. Or on the other hand, like when I published my book, my audience is pretty much covered by Audible, Amazon, and Apple. So I don't need to be on a million distribution platforms. I can tell people one place that they can get it. Simple. They know where to go. It's easy for them to find my book. So, and again, that comes down to, do you want to be exclusive on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, or do you want to be non-exclusive? Which allows you, of course, to get your book distributed on any distribution platform. It depends on your marketing strategy. So from an author standpoint, as a business, because you are a brand, figure out what works for you. Have a marketing plan in place. That'll definitely help you decide where to have your book published. If you have a lot of people finding you on Spotify, then go ahead, put your book on Spotify. Again, it depends what's best for the author.
Okay, so you mentioned marketing, and I think marketing is the bane of existence for many authors. And I want to ask about your book, Your Voice. Did you self-publish or did you go with the publisher? Hey, quick break before we dive back in. If you've been thinking about writing your book but do not know where to start, my Write Your Book in 120 Days coaching program can help. It's a step-by-step system that takes you from idea to finished manuscript, with structure, accountability, and personalized feedback every step of the way. You can learn more about the program at natashatynes.com/book coaching. That's natashatynes.com/book coaching. And if you're ready to talk about your project, you can book a free clarity call with me. The link is in the show notes. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, well, actually, the book that I wrote, the Your Book, Your Voice, is the name of the audiobook coaching program.
Okay.
So the book that I wrote, let me grab it. I got it right here. It's called Lights, Action, You.
Oh, okay. All right. That's your book. Sorry. Okay.
So when I started off with Robert Lane Coaching, I did start out as a career coach and life coach, and I did work over 30 years in the entertainment industry. And when I left that industry, people would come up to me and say, "Oh, I bet you have all these behind the scenes stories of what it's like to work in the entertainment world."
Okay.
And I thought about that, and I thought, yeah, I guess I do. But I wanted to take it one step further. So what I did is I share stories of my experiences working in the business, but with each story, as a career coach and life coach, I give a tool or technique or a life lesson so that people could get more value out of the book than just entertainment stories. So that was why I wrote
the book. Oh, cool. And how did you publish it? What was your publishing journey?
I did self-publish. So I did hire a book coach, and I went through the process of hiring an editor, a book formatter, cover designer, did all of that because, again, I believe of not cutting corners. You want to make it look great. And you should be able to hold a book side by side, traditional publisher, self-publisher, and not be able to tell the difference between the two. And that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell when I
Right, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the books that I have here, and it's interesting. So I want to talk about marketing. How do you market your business? And podcasting, I guess, is one of those platforms. But what are you doing to get clients? And I ask for the audience, for myself, for anyone who's interested to
absolutely
get
So, I mean, there's a variety of ways of doing it. And of course, not having a huge marketing budget or a big marketing team that you can hire, which costs a lot of money to be able to do, right? Yeah. So, we're all looking for ways to do it. Podcasting, being guests or even hosting podcasts is a great avenue. I also believe in grassroots marketing, getting out there. Like when I published my book, for example, I messaged all my friends on Facebook and Instagram and social media and said, "Hey, my book's coming out. Would love for you to, do a review." I would even maybe send them a free digital copy. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And even from a marketing standpoint, let's say you do your audiobook. Well, do a little marketing campaign. If you buy my audiobook, you'll get my ebook for 99 cents. Or if you buy my audiobook, I'll send you a personalized copy of my paperback. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do from a marketing standpoint. And of course, always posting on social media. It's always good to keep yourself out there. And that's another thing. I know a lot of people, they publish their book, they publish their audiobook, and they make a big, exciting book launch, an audiobook launch, but then they stop marketing. Mm-hmm. You got to keep going.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have a plan. Just say, in 2 months, I'm going to do this special. And then maybe next month I'll do, I'll put together a book signing tour and go to a couple of bookstores. And then maybe I'll go out and do something else. So always be doing something to keep yourself out there, to keep yourself visible, because you don't want your book to disappear. You want people to know about you.
Yeah. What about your coaching business? How do you promote that?
I pretty much do a similar thing. I talk about it, on podcasts. I do host a podcast as well, okay. I do, the social media posts and all that. But, I also have a referral bonus program that I work with other book professionals. And that works actually really, really well because I would say most of the authors that come to me are referrals.
Interesting, yeah.
And then the authors who go through my program, they give me referrals, which is great. And I'm really grateful and appreciative that they do that. That tells me that I'm doing a good job, I hope, for these authors, and that they appreciate the work that I do. And so they send me more authors. those are the greatest clients. Getting referrals, they're great. But again, I do promote myself every day, doing a little marketing here and there.
Oh wow. So okay, so you get referrals, you have your I guess you have your social media presence. Do
Yeah.
you do like Reels and TikTok and all of that?
Mainly just I think the authors that I work with are mainly on LinkedIn and
Mm,
Instagram. I don't do TikTok. It doesn't really help me for what I'm doing. I mean, it can, but I think when you start to spread yourself too thin,
mm.
like find something, if something works, stick to that and
Stick
be
with it,
really good
yeah.
at it. So I didn't want to spread myself too thin.
I hear you, yeah. Yeah. So where are you mostly active on? And where is like the highest ROI?
Probably LinkedIn
Because
and
nonfiction authors, yeah,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
LinkedIn and Instagram, I think have been the best.
Instagram. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about Substack? Like I'm getting tons of traction on Substack.
I haven't really done anything on Substack, though I have heard about people being really successful on that. So that is in the back of my mind of something to look into to see if I want to do some marketing from that aspect as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. For me, LinkedIn and Substack are like the highest ROI,
Yeah.
which is yeah. All right. So how can people find you? What's your website? For anyone who's listening or watching, because this is going to be on YouTube as well. And like some episodes do better on YouTube than the audio, and sometimes it's the reverse. So who knows? But anyways, so how can people like find you? Your website? So if you can let us know. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Easiest place to find me is at robertlanecoaching.com. Real simple, robertlanecoaching.com. And on the homepage, I describe about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. I have clips of authors little
Okay.
samples so you can
Oh,
hear
nice.
how they've done their
Nice.
narration. And again, they're not professionals, but I think they did a fantastic job. And then you can also find me on Instagram, Robert Lane Coaching. And on YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel, and I
Good.
archive my podcasts and all sorts of things up there as well, which is Robert Lane Coaching. But LinkedIn is Robert A. Lane. That's the only difference.
Okay. I will add you to all of them. I'm actually might be one of your clients soon. So we'll stay. You sold me.
Well, good.
We'll
I'd
stay
love
in
to work with
touch.
you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Robert, for your time. I really appreciate all the insights. And for anyone who's listening or watching, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. Please feel free to reach Robert Lane. Get your audiobook out there. It's the future. And until we meet again.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Read and Write with Natasha. I'm your host, Natasha Tynes. If today's episode inspired you in any way, please take the time to review the podcast. Remember to subscribe and share this podcast with fellow book lovers. Until next time, happy reading, happy writing. Hey, just a quick pause to share something I'm really excited about. My new novel, Karma Unleashed, is finally out. It's a supernatural suburban thriller set between the Middle East and the American suburbs, weaving together themes of identity, immigration, and mystical visions. If you love stories with heart, mystery, and a touch of the mystical word, this one is for you. You can grab your copy now. Just search Karma Unleashed by Natasha Tynes on Amazon. And of course, the link is in the show notes. Thanks for supporting indie authors like me. All right, back to the show.